What's up, Fortnite fam? The FNCS Qualifier 1 just wrapped up and we have our first set of teams who have qualified through to this season's finals. Let's take a deep dive into the NA East region where the ex-teammates battled out for the crown of first place. Nut, Chukky and Eomzo are a newly formed trio this season and they're certainly setting the region ablaze. Nut is an absolute veteran of the game, only missing out on World Cup duo qualification in 2019 by one slot. He has been a consistent performer on the region through every season and took the console track for Season 4's FNCS, where he, alongside Max and Assault, were crowned the FNCS champions. Nut paired up with Chukky in Season 6, and from the moment they started playing together, there were clear signs of success. At this time, they were playing with Nosh, and their first tournament was a trio cash cup in Season 6, where they ended up placing 21st. That season, they were truly on to show the potential by winning qualifier number 3 and in a dominant fashion, picking up 3 victory royales out of the 6 games, being hands down one of the craziest and most dominant qualifying performances we've ever seen. This led them to a 9th place finish in the finals, a very, very respectable performance indeed.
Despite performing extremely well in Season 6, come Season 7, and Nosh had left the trio to play with Bugha and Avery, leaving a slot open on the team. Enter Eomzo. Eomzo has been a player that has been making a name for himself in solo competitions by first winning a solo cash cup and then also winning the UEFA Euro 2020 Cup. When it came to team game modes like trios, he had some good team performances in cash cups, but hadn't been able to translate that over to an FNCS just yet. So Season 7 Qualifier 1 was with Nut and Chukky, and this was his time to shine. However, the first half of the tournament wasn't their story. Nosh, Bugha, and Avery pick up the victory royale in Game 1, starting strong, and in Game 2 and 3, both place second with a handful of eliminations. It seems like they are an unstoppable force to be reckoned with, being on 142 points after 3 games. Despite this incredible success, Nut, Chukky, and Eomzo were also a large margin ahead of the pack with their 109 points, including an 11 elimination victory royale in Game number 3. On many regions, these points alone would have placed them in first, but since Nosh, Bugha, and Avery had the dominant start, they had been overshadowed. However, at the halfway mark, it was a 2-horse race for the number 1 slot on the day. In Game number 4, both teams made it into the endgame. However, Avery was already down. Bugha and Nosh have height in the 8th zone transition and had a grip over the entire lobby, but Aspect pushed from behind and picks up Bugha. Nosh, now left alone as a solo, is forced down to low ground, and with no materials, he's picked up and placed at the back of the storm by Clicks. At the same time, Nut, Chukky, and Eomzo are fragging out in the mid-ground layer, but Chukky gets dropped down below and knocked. Left as a duo with low material in a complete parallel to Avery, Bugha, and Nosh, they are forced down to low ground and are eliminated to Clicks, Bucky, and Creo. Both teams gained almost identical placements, placing 6th and 7th respectively. However, the extra elimination points from Nut's team are starting to add up. In Game 5, almost the exact same thing happened for Nut, Chukky, and Eomzo, where Eomzo went down early and Chukky and Nut did what they could on the mid-ground, but eventually ran out of materials and were picked up at the back of Storm. And in this match, Bugha was remaining in the endgame as a solo. He put in a valiant effort to stay in the game as long as he could, gaining his team crucial placement points, but was inevitably picked up. Both teams didn't have a very good Game 5, but the gap was closing on the leaderboards.
Going into the final game, the stakes were high. Both teams had an almost 100% guaranteed spot in the finals claimed, and now they were playing for first place, the bragging rights, and to beat out their ex-teammates. Nosh, Bugha, and Avery haven't executed their Storm Surge strategy that well in this game, leaving them below the threshold. This made them go for a triple spray onto Jack, Acorn, and Slacks. However, Avery overexposes himself and gets knocked to the veteran team. Due to the desperation of the situation, Nosh also then overpeaks and gets knocked, leaving Bugha behind as a solo 2 games in a row. He tries to exchange shots back in as safest way as possible to get his team above that threshold, but is ultimately picked up in 18th place with 0 eliminations, only gaining themselves 5 placement points. This opens up the floor for Nut, Chukky, and Eomzo to take the lead. At this point, they've already had 2 eliminations, meaning an additional 4 points for the scoreboard. Despite this, they too ended up being 94 below the next Storm Surge threshold in the moving zones, as if the similarities in their gameplay weren't obvious enough yet. Chukky manages to pick up 2 massive eliminations in the endgame, pulling them up to 4 total now. And unlike Nosh, Avery and Booga, they were successful in getting above the Storm Surge threshold. However, in the chaos, Eomzo gets knocked, leaving Nut and Chukky remaining to try to clutch up the points to beat out their previous teammate Nosh and take home the top slot. The duo do everything in their power to frag out on the low ground, but with no materials, they are bested by Knifer's trio, ending their run in 10th. Both Nut, Chukky Eomzo, and Nosh, Booga, Avery had an incredible 6 games and pushed each other to their absolute limits throughout the qualifier. But ultimately, it was Nut, Chukky, and Eomzo who came out on top. Despite going down in 10th in their final game, it was those 4 eliminations that pushed them into first place by only a single point. These 2 teams, alongside our 3rd placing team of DJN, Agers, and Skittles, have now secured their ticket to the Season 7 Fortnite Champions Series Finals. We hope you guys enjoyed this qualifier as much as we did, because there's 2 more to come alongside with the semis and the finals as well. We'll see you guys on the battle bus. Beep beep.